Come one, come all, to the very first episode of Creative Memes, where we pick out the juiciest stories for your parched earbuds. I'm your host, Milica, and today I'll be telling you all about the interruption of a new friendship. Now, to start us off, I was something of a quote-unquote vihophobe during my undergraduate years, and so the stuffy old omnibus was my quote-unquote trusty steed. On one such trying day, following my last class, I paid the usual fare of $4 at the terminal machine, as you do. Gosh, was that expensive. And I printed out my ticket for proof of payment before boarding the ride to Home Sweet Home. I would normally pocket my receipts, but for some odd reason, I didn't this time. Of course, I hadn't the chance to consider my usual logic. Being the recluse I was, I instantly beelined for a seat in the back, faster than I had run any track race in my life. I was alone at first, so I sat in an aisle seat and dropped off my bag next door. As the bus gradually filled up, I noticed a girl who hardly looked any older than a high school senior seeking refuge here. It seems she values quiet solitude as much as I do. I'm aware I place some emphasis on this point, but rest assured, I also value goodwill. Meeting her gaze, I motioned for her to my spot by scooping up my bag and sliding over to the window seat. We exchanged the customary courtesies and took to our idle activities, I guess. After about a minute or so, we somehow ended up glancing at one another, and without thinking, I offered her a smile. She returned the gesture. I almost immediately heard the sounds of a marker writing when I turned away, but it ceased to strike my curiosity, though it wasn't long before the girl passed me a piece of paper. I briefly looked at her in surprise when I accepted it. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was a note bordered by a pretty, plant-like frame that she no doubt drew herself. My lips slowly curled into a grateful grin, for it read, "A smile is one of the greatest gifts one can give a stranger. Thank you." Truthfully, I do this quite often, but I'd never contemplated its worth until now, especially since it earned me a new friend. We talked about anything we could think of until we arrived at the next terminal in my city. Transit fare inspectors, interestingly enough, are a rare sight in these parts, so I wasn't expecting them to make their round on our bus. Still, a protocol is just that. I rummaged through my bag, its pockets, my own pockets. Fiddlesticks! Where could it be? I noticed the girl was struggling to find hers too. Our shared panic mode couldn't settle in because one officer had already made his way over to us. When he requested to see our tickets, we each explained our situation to him. I concluded that mine must have slipped out of my hand as I walked into the bus. He asked us to exit and wait for him at the terminal. We were separated for well over 15 minutes while our penalties were being written up and the next steps outlined. The girl was dismissed earlier, so she bade me farewell. I can't believe I'd all but forgotten about her. In spite of all this, you would think I'd ask her for her contact information, but I didn't even get her name. Only a $130 fine to dispute in court. So that was a bit of a downer, but on the bright side, I still keep her note on my desk as a reminder to always try and make someone's day a little better. And you can certainly make ours by sharing this episode on social media and commenting with your own tale about how your new friendship got interrupted. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, we'll be on the lookout for an even juicier story that worm in your ear just can't resist.